Good evening, everyone. Come to order, please, for the Bel Air Beach Monday, July 6th regular meeting. Please rise to salute. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Councilmember Romanaki.
Here.
Councilmember Mark B.
Here.
Councilmember Dave Gaddis.
Here.
Councilmember Jody Shirley.
Here.
Councilmember Rita Swope.
Here.
Vice Mayor Glenn Gunn. Mayor Joseph Manzo.
Here.
City Manager Len Reeves.
Here.
City Attorney Fred Riley.
Here. Okay, welcome everyone. We have an overflow crowd tonight, a lot of new faces. Thank you for coming out. Just a little closer. Because we have some new people, I'm just going to go over what some of our rules are. This is not like being at a party or someplace else. This is a limited public forum. We want to hear you. We want you to voice whatever items you have for us. But we have rules. And the rules are pretty simple. Okay, the people here on the council you may address. We have two different times to address us. And on general items that are not on our agenda, we're going to call that in the beginning. And so that's if something does not appear on the agenda. You have 3 minutes. You come right up here to the podium, give your name and address, and you address the entire council. You can't get into dialogue with us, and these are the city's rules that have been put down over time. You can ask questions, but they're not going to be answered on the spot. So feel free to tell us anything that's on your mind, but it may not get answered until the end of the day when actually council members can speak. That's the first time. And then the second time will be anytime we have something that requires a vote. There's a lot of stuff that requires a vote tonight. There's 30 items that require a vote. This is a very, very big agenda. Every time we get to something, there will be a time for public comment. You don't have to raise your hand. I will, at some point, after I get done with the council comments, I'll come to the audience and I'll say, are there any audience comments? Raise your hand, I'll acknowledge it, come back up here. Again, you have 3 minutes to speak. In terms of speaking, you can be emotional about your issue, but you can't be insulting to us. We're not going to insult you, you're not going to insult us. That's the rules. It's real simple. Other than that, there's no talking from the seats. If people start screaming from the seats, I'm going to have to stop this, and then it's just going to take longer than it has to. So these are the city's rules. There's a code of conduct around the room, and it's also up on that podium. Okay, so please, if everybody hears fit, we're going to do just fine. First item is to approve the agenda. Do I have a motion? So move. Mark B, motions?
Second.
Second by Joe Shirley.
Yes, Vice Mayor. I'd like to recognize
Is that Glenn Gunn? Okay, I can barely hear him, but yes, sure.
Mayor, for consideration, I would like to ask for consideration to item 30D on the unfinished business. This portion regarding the umbrella ordinance of Water Shore to the top, or near the top of the regular agenda. My basis for asking this is that I believe it's a pretty high visibility, highly charged issue, and I don't think it's in the right place under unfinished business. The reason for this is because although at our last council session we discussed the parking lot issue, that sort of thing, now would be unfinished business for us. But as far as the Bel Air Shore ordinance goes, that actually took place after our last council session. So that is actually new business. And I think it's more conducive to all the people, all the residents that probably showed up tonight because they want to speak on that topic when it comes near the top of the regular agenda rather than at the back of the agenda.
Thank you, Vice
I
Mayor.
also have a recommendation to consider swapping under the regular agenda, item number 15 with number 21. My reason for possibly considering that swap is because I think 15 is a highly charged and contentious issue. And I think that if you consider taking number 21 first, that will basically call those are my two recommendations for the agenda.
Okay, thank you. Vice Mayor, I just want you to know that I shared in your thing, in my notes, I was going to suggest also that we move item 30B to item 15B, but now if you remove item 15B, it's going to be 21 will take its place. But I think, can I just have a show of hands on the people who are here to speak or listen with regard to the Bel Air Beach, Bel Air Shore issue with umbrellas and everything else? I'm seeing a fair amount of people here, so I have to agree with that motion if we could move that. We'll see what other changes we have over here. I also wanted to remove items number 9, which I can read with this mask and everything here. Item 9, 11, and 13 to the regular agenda. 9, 11, and 13 to the consent agenda. I have either questions or comments on those items. They're not going to be long, but I can't deal with that in the consent agenda. So 9, 11, and 13 to the regular, if anyone, if folks here will agree. Council, do you have any other suggested changes? And we can just vote on them, I guess, as a group if no one has objection. Seeing none, hearing none. So what we're going to do would be this. We'll just put this as a group unless anybody objects. Move item 30B. Well, let's do it this the other way. Let's move item 21 and replace it 15. Item 15 goes to item 21. New item 15, which is 21, will be followed by 30B, which is the Bel Air Shore issue with the beaches. And then items 9, 11, and 13, which is the consent agenda, I really have no preference where that goes. If you want, we can take it right after the consent agenda, so we'll put it before item 15. We can dispose of it quickly while we're talking about agenda points. Does that sound workable to everyone?
Yes.
Yes?
I think what Glenn was saying was move 15 to 21A.
Right.
You know, so it's 21 to 21A. So rather than, I think the way you stated it was to move 21 to 15.
I misunderstood that.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor, is that correct? You want to move 15 down to 21? I thought you said swap. I have in my notes swap.
That's fine. I was going to swap it if you want to leave those issues at the top of the regular agenda. But yeah, I think if it's a chicken and egg kind of issue, but I think if you consider the virtual meeting before you go to the face mask, you may eliminate some of the controversy and unexpected consequences of the face mask if you consider the virtual meeting first.
I think you're right. So why don't we move Councilman Shirley, he seems like it doesn't matter. Yeah, I'm taking it. You've made that proposal also. So let's move 15 into 21B, okay? And 21A will be what's now 21. Folks, you're going to have to help me because this thing is a mess already. So. And then my proposal was items 9, 11, and 13. Just take them out of the consent agenda. Let's just stick them right before 15, if we will. Is that all right with everyone?
Yes. Yes.
I promise it's not going to be a long discussion, just questions. And 30B then is going to go in place of 15. So that's going to be the first item after we go through the public hearing, because I think the public hearing has to take priority. Is council in agreement with that? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. All right, so the first thing that we have now is the citizen comments. So again, this is for anything that is not on the agenda. So if you're going to talk about the beaches and stuff like that, that's not where this belongs. If you're going to talk about, I don't know, how nice the flowers are in the backyard, that's where you want to talk about it. So does anybody have any general comments that they would like to make? Sir?
Thank you, concerning public signage.
Okay, yes. Are you here, Mr. Ray?
I am Mr. Athenoulis, yes.
Okay.
And I am the one who was prepared and submitted to the mayor and the council member information and also the city attorney about an ordinance which I believe has been found to be unconstitutional and that I'm asking the city council to repeal. I feel very strongly about this issue, and I feel strongly about it because it is another obstacle to incumbency and the power of incumbency. It was sometime in the middle part of June when my wife and I decided to undertake our investigation and decide who we were going to support for political office. And we found the credentials of a young lady, pretty impressive, that we decided to make a contribution to. And she's here tonight. Her name is Anna Paulina Luna. So we decided to make a $50 contribution, and quite to my surprise, about an hour later we received a telephone call from her, thanking us for that contribution, and asking us if we would put a sign in our front yard. And of course, we'd be happy to do that. And I was surprised when Lynn, our city manager, stopped by to promptly present me with a citation for violating an ordinance, because apparently in our city, we have an ordinance that says we can't have political signs up anytime before 45 days before the election. Now this, I've already provided the information to Fred. He's been our city attorney. He's been quite professional, as has Lynn and everybody else. This is an ordinance that was found unconstitutional 12 years ago. Every court that has looked at this ordinance has said it's unconstitutional. I don't want to bring my lawsuit against the city. I want to save the city the time and the effort. But what's important as we repeal the statute is to understand why we are repealing the statute. Candidates like Anna Paulina Luna face outrageous obstacles. The power of incumbency is huge. 90% of political contributions go to an incumbent. And that's because Americans like winners. Americans don't agree on anything. They like to place their bets on winners. And too many politicians today are bought and sold. I'm also upset in our world today that we have too many old people that are running this country. It starts with the president, a little old for my liking, but he's being challenged by somebody even older who has a hard time remembering what state he's in. The bigger problem is in Congress. In Congress, even though 85% of America, Democrats, Republicans, Independents favor term limits, they don't get done. They don't get done because of the power of incumbency. And if all that money in incumbency is not enough, our candidates are able to use our tax dollars under the guise of keeping their constituents informed. There's nothing more than political propaganda for their next election. As I waited here, I got the automatic call from Charlie Crist about coronavirus. A challenger, Democrat or Republican, faces long odds. And the only way they can overcome those odds...
That was the time.
My wife has given me her 3 minutes. I'll be done shortly. The only way they can overcome those odds is to get out and meet the people and ask them for the support, hit the pavement, and put their signs up in their front lawns, and our city tells them they can't even do that. It's wrong. So I'm asking nicely that the city council, one, apologize to Anna because we've adversely affected her campaign, and two, repeal the ordinance that by every court has been found to be unconstitutional. And with that, I'd also like to ask a few minutes for Anna, who is here tonight, to come up and say hello, and for the city of Bel Air Beach to welcome her, as I would hope we would welcome all candidates, liberal, conservative, Democrat, Republican, and independent. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Would someone else like to speak?
Would you?
Yes.
Thank you so much for letting me speak, and I apologize in advance. My voice is very hoarse because of the fact that I've been making probably, I think, close to over 3,000 campaign calls over the last week or so. But I'm a United States Air Force veteran. I'm also a minority woman. I'm pro-life, pro-God, pro-Constitution, and anti-socialist. I fought for the Constitution, I fought for freedom of speech, and I appreciate you guys allowing me to come here today to also voice this concern as well. I'm, as you know, competing against Charlie Crist to be your next congressional representative for Florida's 13th congressional district. And if you have any questions for me, I will be available after this meeting to answer those for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes.
it would now be appropriate time. Tammy Vasquez is also here. She's running for county commission seat.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And just so everyone knows, we started this earlier this year. We had a candidate visit us. We gave them 3 minutes to speak. I think we should continue. I think we have a full house here tonight, so please, you're welcome to address us.
Hi, I'm Tammy Vasquez. I'm actually running for county commission countywide, so it's an at-large position, and District 3. And I could not follow 2 more people that were any more appropriate. Same beliefs. One of the main reasons I'm running, I am a small business owner here in Pinellas County, my husband and myself. And over the last definitely 4 months, a lot of our constitutional rights have been not followed very well. And a lot of our small business, all of our small business owners have completely been trampled on by the incumbents of over a decade that sit on our county commission, excluding Kathleen Peters. She's the only one that has not been there for over a decade. And all of them are lifetime politicians, and they do not listen. They do not listen to their constituents. They do not listen to their small business owners. They are not supportive of our police departments. We have, I think, one of the best sheriffs in the country, and they don't even listen to him. And it is time. Our county has changed so much, not only in the last 5 years, but in the last 10 years. We have become such a diverse, amazing community, yet we have, to quote something you said, we have the same old school thoughts and people that have been there, one of them for 26 years. The overwhelming amount, and I will tell you, it was 83% of Pinellas County in 1996 voted for term limits on our county commissioners. Our county commission took the taxpayer money to take that to court in the federal courts, and they had it overturned because they love their jobs and they love being there because it is a high-paying job. I did not even know that until after I decided to run. So I am running on that platform that we need new, fresh ideas. We need new people. We don't need people that have been there for over a decade and lifetime politicians. People who have never had to worry about getting a paycheck. People who have never had to worry about writing a payroll. They've never had to worry about cutting costs and meeting guidelines and meeting budgets that business owners and all of us have had to do in our households. And that's what I represent. I represent that, and I am a constitutionalist, and I am a proud constitutionalist. And I believe that it is time for that change in our county. Again, if you have any questions, my husband Mike and myself will be here. We'll be more than happy to speak with you. Thank you so much for the time to speak.
Any other citizens would like to address us? Yes, sir.
Randy Levis, 13th Street. This all started 4 years ago, 2016, with my political signs in the front yard, okay? And the then city manager came to me, told me to take them down. I said, no, I'm not taking them down. So I went to the ACLU. At that time, they said if I got a summons that they were going to defend this in court, okay? I started out about 6 months ago backing Anna Pauline Bloom. I got one of her signs that stuck it in my yard. 2.5 weeks ago, Glenn paid me a visit, and I got one of these notices that says I'm in violation of this ordinance, the political sign ordinance, the 45-day limit. And I told him, I'm sorry, sir, but I'm not going to take it down. He said, well, then there's going to be a secondary inspection, and then the sheriff will come and give me a summons if that's the case. So I said, well, let that be. The sheriff never came. As a matter of fact, the minute after he left, I went to the garage and pulled out a "Say No to Socialism" sign. And that one's planted next to the man between my front door. Okay. The Delaware Beach Ordinance says First Amendment rights are recognized by the city, and restrictions to political signage are only in deference to the aesthetic standards of the city, without any attempt to curtail, abridge, or amend the constitutionally guaranteed rights of free expression. Yet, that's exactly what you did. Okay. I have numerous case law incidents here. City of Ladue versus Gilio, Phelps versus City of South Euclid, Baldwin versus Redwood City. All these cases involve city ordinances limiting political signs on private property. The different circuit courts and U.S. Supreme Court said political signs are pure speech that address a political topic. Signs on private property are to be viewed from the street, represent areas that receive the highest protection in the First Amendment. Citizens, this is the Supreme Court, citizens have the right to express private political viewpoints on their private property. There's countless additional cases that find that the aesthetics goal that these municipalities have do not reasonably outweigh the loss of liberty of free speech. Municipal governments may not restrict expression because of its message, its ideas, subject matter, or content. Okay? Hillary lied, Americans died. Okay? How about Biden in 2020 with the Hong Kong gets the message across. Okay? I'm Joe Biden and I forgot this message. Today's illegals, tomorrow's Democrats. I bet not one of you would send a city inspector to an African-American yard and tell him to take down his Black Lives Matter sign. Okay? Here's my next one. God's guns to Trump. All right? And everybody knows what an airhead AOC is. How about ribbed condoms? They don't even taste like ribs. George Washington said, if freedom of speech is taken away, then dumb and silent we may be led like sheep to the slaughter. So keep that in mind. I think this thing has to be revoked, like the other gentleman said, and if not, it's going to end up going to court. But there is long-standing precedent that this will not stand. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, sir. And I just want to point out, we're going to be considering the sign ordinance repeal and then the motion that's been made, it was made by me, on number 22. Okay, and we've got several of those items on consent agenda, so it's not as bad as it sounds, but there is a fairly robust agenda tonight. So you make your comments now, make them then. We are already talking about that. Anybody else have any comments? Seeing no other citizen comments, then I'm going to close citizen comments. I'm going to move to a presentation by the Pinellas County Sheriff. Sheriff, do we have a presenter?
Welcome, Mike. Come back. Yeah. My name's Sergeant Tasty. I'm going to be presenting the May stats for the Sheriff's Office. I believe all the commissioners got this email to them. Again, it seems like every time I come up, it's Part 1 crimes. We actually have 0 for the city in May. So that's all the murder, forcible sex, robbery, aggravated assault, burglary, larceny, all 0s. So that's good news. We had 3 arrests for the city in May. I normally go over the highlight reel. There's really nothing to go over with this highlight reel. Most of this was self-contained situations, which isn't going to cause a problem in the city. So, page 3, we had 804 events in the city. We had 888 units, that means different deputies responding to the city during the month of May. I'd like to point out, if you look down the list, pretty much down to suspicious person, the majority of those calls are self-initiated activities. That means that the deputies are out and stopping or doing these jobs on their own. So if my math is correct, that's 758 of the 804. The majority of those are self-initiated activities. So they're out there doing their job. We have, on the back page, we had 2 crashes, both on the causeway, one at Gulf Boulevard and one up here. Again, not a problem area. We don't have one intersection with multiple crashes. And we had 72 citations. 37 of those were parking citations, 28 were warning, and 7 actual uniform traffic citations. Any questions?
Can I have a few questions and comments?
Okay.
First off, again, I say this every month, but I'm so glad to say this every month. Thank you and your your group for an outstanding job. Not only did we have 0 crime this month, for those of you who are not at every regular meeting, we had 3 crimes. 3. 1, 2, 3 for the whole year. Okay? 2 of them were for larceny, and there's a sex offense. That's it. That's outstanding for a city. And a lot of credit goes to these folks, and a lot of credit goes to you, because you're calling stuff in, if you see it, you're coming out and responding. So kudos to you. You cannot be doing it better. That's outstanding. I'm going to ask one thing, if you can. It's not even going to be hard work, I promise. I was at the Bel Air Shore meeting last month, and they are going to start breaking out the enforcement activity at the easements. This is a very big issue here for our city. Half the room here is here because of this. I'm going to ask if you could just put that supplemental information for us so that we will have an idea of how the enforcement is going in those easements. It's their town, but I would like to know how that's going. Because the main problem that we have, and I'll get into this later, is that there's a lot of unauthorized visitors coming here using that lot. And I know you guys are doing your best, but I want to see what the statistics are, because we're trying to put some stuff into place to try and discourage people from coming here to the home here. So is that possible to add that page?
I can talk to the captain.
I know you're doing it for Bel Air Shore, because they're going to be doing it, or they will be doing it. They just broke it out into a reporting area. So when you start with that, if you don't mind just photocopying that page and stick it on our thing, I think it would be helpful for everyone in our council in the city. Keep up the great work. Thank you. Does anybody else have questions? No. Thank you. Okay, the fourth item on the agenda is board and committee reports. We have several boards and committees in our city. I don't know if there's any representatives here. We have the Communications Committee, we have Parks and Rec Board. I see Leslie and Tara raising their hands, so we're going to have her from the Communications Committee first.
Thank you. The Communications Advisory Committee has had 2 meetings so far, and we've talked generally about what needs to be communicated, and then some things that we can do, to get things moving in the right direction. And one of the things we would like to get going is town hall meetings. And we realize that given all this stuff that's going on, it's going to take a little planning and maybe down the road, but we'd like to come up with some of the format we might do with the subject of a town hall meeting for all of the citizens of the committee. Do we just have a moderator, maybe someone suggested the city attorney, sorry Fred, or some former mayors, to moderate the thing, communications between the council members and the city, and then work on planning a date, whether we do these, semi-monthly or whatever. We need to work on getting together a list of all the residents and voters of the city. Recently I got one postcard mailed to current resident at my address. So that's one way we send things to people who live in the city. We also need to go through the tax rolls to get the list of the people who own the properties and are paying the taxes but may not be the current residents here, they may be renting out their homes. And then in this survey, if you will, ask them how they would like to be communicated, whether it be through email, snail mail, phone, instant messaging on the city website, but being sure to tell all of them that any information you give us, like your email address, becomes a public record. Because I know some people are leery to put that stuff out there. We wanted to interface with some of the other smaller communities around here and how they are communicating with their residents. The town the size of Bel Air Beach, we obviously have some financial restrictions. We can't do a whole lot, but if we could work together with maybe some of the other communities, I don't know if all of you guys get things from Alert Pinellas, or your phone beeps saying, there's a storm off the coast. If we could maybe work with some of the other communities to develop a common, alert Barrier Islands website or service, do something like that. We talked about working on the website, on the city's website, and allowing citizens to put comments on the website. And that has some ups and downs, obviously. I have to apologize to David. He was looking into some systems from Logitech that maybe we might be able to use to broadcast our meetings so that people could participate from not having to be here, but that's something that we're looking at, so that people could stay at home and watch, get the video and the audio at home without having to come around. Our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 16th at 6 p.m. It says in here it's Wednesday, July 16th, our meeting. So it's 2 weeks from this Thursday. We're trying to put together some ideas of what we need to communicate and how the citizens can communicate with us. Both sides of those they're equally important. So like I said, we're just, getting started on this adventure. Had some good feedback. We talked about, what needs to be communicated, what needs to be communicated immediately, regularly, like monthly, regularly, semi-annually, and we're trying to put together some of those lists and thoughts. So that's what the Communications Advisory Committee is up to.
Questions from council for Chairman of the commission? I have just a suggestion. Victor, our videographer, invited me to watch something that he's worked on. I don't know if you can hear me properly, this, which was a live streaming of the Indian Rocks council meetings, and I took advantage of that the other night. It worked really well. There was 2 little hiccups, 2 little blips, and they were just momentary. I don't know if that was my internet or theirs. But I was able to watch that meeting from the comfort of my bedroom. I was laying in the bed and just watching that thing on my cell phone. So the technology's there, and I might invite you to give, to get with him, because he's already doing it, and he's doing it well. It came out really good.
Question, were you able to, were the people watching it live streaming able to participate at all?
I don't know. I didn't try to participate. I don't know if that's, because that was not an option.
No, they weren't able
They were
to
not.
participate.
Okay. I was just able to watch it. It was just a stream.
Basically what the county does and somebody who they use, so that's one of our next
Excellent.
we get together 2 weeks from now.
Anyone from the audience have any questions? Leslie, thank you for your committee. Parks and Rec Board, any report? I'm seeing a shaking of head. No. Anyone here from Planning Board? No. And also Board of Adjustment? No. Okay, that'll conclude the board and committee reports. So now we move into the public hearing. Bear with me, folks. I have to read this entire thing here. And we're going to have a motion from our board here, and we'll open it up to public comment, okay? So it's really hard to keep my glasses on over this mask, so I'm trying. Consideration of ordinance 20-03, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida. An ordinance of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, relating to stormwater management, establishing a stormwater utility pursuant to Chapter 166 Florida statutes and Section 403.0893 Florida statutes, providing for a stormwater fee, specifying the methods for calculating, billing and collecting the fee, establishing a rate schedule for the stormwater fee through fiscal year 2020 through 2021, providing that the rate schedule for fiscal years thereafter may be established by resolution of the City Council adopted during the city's annual budget process, directing codification of this ordinance, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. This is the second and final reading. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Anybody have a second?
Second.
With that, I'll
Mayor,
Yes.
Chris Rowe is here, and so is the consultant, if you have any questions.
Okay, and these are the engineers and the folks who put this together for us. So if there's any technical questions, they're going to be the folks that are going to defer this to. Council, I'll go first with the council, and then I'm going to open it up to the floor because there are people I don't, well, we're supposed to be prepared tonight to speak on this.
I just have one question. A lot of citizens have asked me, and I didn't have a straight answer. If we put this into effect, is there an end date? Like this is valid for the first year or two, and then after that, stop or reevaluate? Or is this going to be like forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever?
Understanding is it goes until somebody changes it. Am I correct on that?
Yes, if we're going to continue to maintain our sewer system, our wastewater system, then, yeah, not wastewater, excuse me, our storm sewer system, yes.
Anybody else on council? I heard from a couple citizens on this. I got an email this morning from Kathleen Clazier. I don't know if he's here tonight. Tom Luger. Yeah, Tom is in the back. Tom, you're going to speak, but I'm going to just, you kind of changed my thinking on this, and I just want to share a little bit of what you had told me. Two excellent presentations to me, and I heard from some other people that I spoke to personally that didn't write to me, they didn't write to me either, Kathleen did. But anyway, this, when you look at it, is $15 per month, which is $180 per year. And initially, I am totally on board with this concept. This was Jody Shirley's brainchild, Councilwoman Shirley's brainchild here. She worked it through, and I think the idea and the concept is excellent, okay? I do think we need this, but I'm gonna have a but here now. We're $15 a month. And at first I said, it's only $180. Well, $180 to me, I guess I could afford that. And I know some other people can afford that. But there are people in the city who cannot afford that. It is a significant amount of money to some folks. And if we had done this as a tax increase, this would be upwards of a 50%, it depends on how much you're getting taxed right now in your house, but it could be anywhere from a 30% on to a 100% tax increase for your city taxes. I'm going to use myself as an example, okay? I pay $644 a year in city taxes. This is $180. Quick calculation, that's 30%. I ran on a no new taxes platform, and I skewered the other administration for raising taxes. We're calling this a fee, but it's still the haul that goes to City Hall. And you're going to pay more money out of your pocket into City Hall. We're calling it a fee. It's a tax, it's a fee, whatever you want to call it, you're paying it. Lynn Reeves, I hope you didn't mind. I took a look at your tax bill. You know what you pay in county and city taxes? You got some discounts. You've been here a long time. $92 a year. For Lynn Reeves, this represents almost a 200% increase in his City Hall, in his tax. I think that's significant numbers for some people. I remember going around campaigning and seeing people who couldn't afford to replace their sprinkler heads because they broke on their property and they were leaking. Money's tight for some folks. It's a bad time. So, and Mr. Lugar also made an excellent point to me, and Tom, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder here, but he also said, do you all remember the little recycling fee that we got? When I started with my property, it was $7, then it went to $14. I'm paying more for recycled water right now in some months than I pay for good water. That's just wrong. That fee is just climbed and climbed and climbed. So I have a different proposal I'm going to throw out to this council because it does affect a lot of people in this city. I'm still for this, and if it comes up on a vote, I think I'm going to vote it, okay? But here's what I would suggest to the council, a proposal. Why don't we bring this to the residents? We have referendums, 5 referendums that came, or that you're going to hear in a while, that came out of the Charter Review Committee. Why don't we make this the 6th referendum and ask the citizens if they want this stormwater fee? Let them decide. Let them really get into this. I mean, you know, here's the book on this thing. Get into it, study it, see if you want to do it. And if you vote for it, then we do it. This is what we do with underground. You need 50% in your neighborhood to do underground, and we don't dictate it from here. And I think because of the magnitude of this, because it affects every citizen in there, this isn't like when we normally have to pass on a fee, like the garbage fee goes up. We have no choice on that. We have to pass it on. This is a new fee, and it could certainly be called a tax, even though we call it a fee. So my proposal to the council for its consideration is that we bring this to referendum this year in November and let everybody vote. I don't think a couple extra months in implementation of this is going to matter that much. So thank you for the consideration. Yes, Glenn Gunn.
Yes, I would just like to, on the other flip side of that coin that you were talking about, I would like to emphasize the fact that this isn't a tax, it's a fee. It's a very targeted fee. It can only go towards stormwater infrastructure, maintenance, and improvement. It's not a discretionary fund. If you raise taxes, basically those monies go into the coffers and can be used on any project down over time. Once we start chiseling away and improving the infrastructure and working the processes, then there's no reason why these user fees can't go down in the future. If you were to try to increase taxes to make up this kind of money, your taxes would go through the roof, and that's not what we want. We want a fair, flat fee that everybody benefits from fairly on this thing. So that's all I wanted to stress on that. It's a targeted fund, it's not a discretionary fund, and it's a fair, flat fee. The high-value properties are not carrying the entire city because their property values are higher than anybody else's.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just wanted to just clarify in case it was not clear. I was not advocating that we go to a tax. I was just comparing it to a tax. I still would say this would be a fee, just the way it is, and we did discuss this, and it is fair if it's done this way, because everybody's house about occupies the same square footage. These engineers did tremendous research on this. It's not worth getting into splitting it. So we would still keep it a fee. I just want the residents to decide on this instead of the 7 of us. Okay, again, it's easy for us to say this, but if Lynn Reeves brought us a budget that increased our taxes 30% for the city, we would run him out of this room. I mean, every one of us, because we all said we're not going to do that. And Lynn would never bring them to us, okay? He kept things pretty flat last year. In fact, he worked real hard to keep them flat. So that's, sometimes we don't have a choice. Police and garbage fees go up and we have no choice on it. But I was just proposing that we have the citizens decide this, and I'll abide by whatever the citizens decide. I think that's fair. Everything else is fine with this in terms of how it's used. Sure.
Yeah, I understand that, but what you're seeing now is you're having a public hearing. Those people who have interest in this issue are there tonight or have made some sort of statement. If you go to a referendum, people are going to walk in and arbitrarily vote may not be up to speed on the issue. But I think those people who have invested in good faith in this, who have studied it, they either contacted the city manager, contacted their council members, or they're probably standing in the audience tonight to make a statement.
Council?
Yeah, I think Glenn made some great points. He's spot on. That's exactly why we're addressing this. There's many points. I think Rita brought it up at the last meeting. We've got $4 million of deferred maintenance on our storm system that we don't have the money to pay for. This is going to slowly chip away at that. It may not affect every homeowner here, but it certainly affects most of the neighborhoods south of the light. And which is why we're addressing this. We've addressed it at every meeting since I've been on council. There's storm drainage issues. There are homes that are nearly flooding down there. And this money allows us to try to rectify 50 years of no maintenance on those storm systems. It's foolish to even reconsider. We're at a second hearing on this. To propose taking it to referendum is a foolish recommendation.
Point of order, I think that's inappropriate to characterize as foolish. I don't think it's foolish. I see people nodding their heads, so I mean, I like it, that's okay.
Well, I do believe that we have a lot of residents that are affected. I'm not one of those. I don't benefit from this at all. But more than half of our city has flooding streets. We're trying to solve that problem.
Council, you're going to go to the floor.
I would like to echo that. Pretty much ever since that I jumped into this, I have heard about stormwater and flooding and the complaints, people coming to me, what can be done. And many people don't understand that the city didn't have the budget. The city had to postpone and delay projects. And after a while, things pile up. Fortunately, we have a council right now, and the previous council who's willing to work on this and figure out ways to designate money. The money that will be collected on this fee pales in comparison to the money that's being spent right now to correct these issues. However, they still have to be maintained. So you spend millions of dollars and then you don't want to pay anything to keep it in good shape. You're going to have a exact same thing that's been happening. I won't go as far as calling it foolish to consider something else, but I think as far as if the city will carefully consider where we're at right now and what we're faced with, I would consider this to be a wise decision.
Thank you. Council?
I'm not against this, because I think we do need the fee in order to help for fixing the problem. I guess my only concern is the no end date, just because I don't want to see that in 5 years now, going from 15 to 18, and then going from 18 to 20. And granted, I know it's a council, year-to-year idea, but I don't know what a council 7 years from now is going to decide. And like you said, I think there's a lot of people in this city who do live paycheck to paycheck, and $15 a month is a lot. That's, you know, a tank of gas, or almost half a tank of gas these days. And I'm looking at this of all of the other cities and their comparison of how much they pay. And granted, we're a much smaller city than these, but, you know, Newport Richey pays $3.36, and we're at the highest at 15. So when we originally started talking about this, we weren't talking about numbers as high as 15. We were talking like, you know, $6, $7. So I'm all for this fee, but my just concern is the longevity of it, and if you don't put any like checks and balances on it, is it gonna get out of control? I mean, I don't know the answers. Maybe it's not. Maybe in 2 years we'll say, hey, we don't need it anymore. I'm just thinking, I don't like having an open end. That's all. I'm just concerned.
Thank you.
I would also like to say something. As many of you know, I've always been for asking the citizens what they think. Most of the time shut down on it, but that's okay. I asked during the report last time from the gentleman if they were going to notify the citizens. So we've done everything we can. I understand both sides, but I also understand the flooding in these streets where some of these residents are stuck in their home until the streets go down. Not everybody drives a truck or an SUV that they can get in and out. Some of them drive cars, and they have to stay in their homes no matter what until the street flooding goes down so they can back out of their driveways. The infrastructure is horrible here. The city has and has owned up to it, not doing anything for 50 years, not due to the fact we, you know, just put it aside for the heck of it. There were reasons. But we do need to have some kind of plan in place to help in the future continue to maintain and improve our infrastructure so that we don't have issues like this. And I understand the fee. I get it, I'm gonna have to pay it too. I also understand I pay for a reclaim box in my yard that I don't use, and I pay every month for it. But, you know, it's sad, but we cannot continue to let things fall apart here and then have huge numbers, huge dollar amounts to fix them. And then there's no money in the budget to do that.
Now, there's something we haven't really talked about, at least at this meeting, and this is in regards to the money. If we continue to do the repairs that need to be done, within 2 to 3 years, we won't have any money to repair anything. So what this is going to do is help put money in the budget so that we can strictly use that money for the repairs. Once the repairs are made down the road, most likely future councils will lower this monthly fee. But we need to get this work done. I know a lot of you don't go out and look at these systems, but many of us on the council have. It's in pretty bad shape. There's a lot more maintenance that goes into the system than what you can realize. Every time the water gets in these pipes from the ocean, you got barnacle buildup. At high tides, you're going to get just full moon flooding. And that's the flooding we need to stop. And also, when we get some storms, we can keep a lot of the seawater from coming back into the streets. And this is all over the city, not just the south side, but the north side as well. So I wish everybody had the information at hand that we do, but if you read the information and were able to investigate a little bit, you would see all the work we've done on the budget and on this particular project. And you really need
Thank you. Council, anyone else?
Andy, I've got one more comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Blake Senator here. Hey, I think the ordinance has the mechanism or vehicle in there for the annual review and changes by resolution during the annual budget process. So I think the vehicle is there to examine the rate structure on an annual basis. My concern is we've got the momentum here to answer an age-old infrastructure problem. We need to move forward on this thing. Not even think about kicking the can any further down the road on this thing. We've done a lot of good discussion, investigation, and thinking on this, and we think we have a way forward on this. The vehicle is there to examine the rate structure on an annual basis. I understand some people's concerns about this thing, but I think we can't just say we're not sure. If there's a concern, then what's the alternative? Give us an alternative to this thing. Don't just say we're not sure if it's appropriate or timely or we like it. Give us an alternative. But if we don't have that, then let's move forward on this thing. There's been a lot of good discussion, a lot of good investigation, and a lot of critical thinking on this thing, and it kind of gives us a way forward on this thing. And a year from now, we can take a look at the rate structure again and change it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Now we open up for public comments. Yes, I'm just going to go from this side of the room to that side of the room, and I'll come back until we're finished. Ma'am, you're first.
Joe? Here's
Oh, sorry.
Fred. Our attorney is down.
Mayor, if I could make two comments, and Chris Rowe is here somewhere, he may want to comment further. It's my understanding that once, if this is enacted this evening, then in the near future, he would go through the validation process to go to court and have a circuit judge review this and ensure that it is consistent with the statute that authorizes the stormwater assessment. So that's the first point I want to make. That's important to me because when it's validated, you set it's a ceiling, and in the future going forward, if you increase the assessment, then it's of course there's a question as to whether the increased amount is also validated. It would not be, because the court would not have entered a judgment based on that. So in some sense, going through the validation process sets an upper limit. So that should be a deterrent going into the future for the city council to increase the cost, although, conceivably it could. The way it was always explained to me is a stormwater assessment is like a spigot in the side of the building, and you can turn the spigot and increase it in some years and decrease it in others. And that's a good thing because it's an equitable tool for you to use as a city council over a period of time to adjust the assessments to be consistent with your needs. So that's one point. The other one, and Lynn and I talked about this earlier, if you've had longstanding deficiencies with stormwater, then in my opinion, and Chris may want to comment on this, you some point run the risk that you will be, if you don't remediate the deficiencies, you will be dealing with DEP at the state level. And if with DEP, it's always a classic Mr. Goodwrench situation. It's pay me now or pay me later. So if you, as a city council, put in place this stormwater assessment, then you are choosing to pay now instead of going the route of not taking care of the maintenance, hoping it goes away, and then only having there be a day some point in the future where instead of paying X, you're paying X times 2. So would be my concern if you don't take action. And just to address the mayor's point, could you do it as a referendum, I think you could, although if that's what the council decided to do this evening, we would have to talk a little bit about the mechanics of that, given the time frame in order to get the ordinance on the ballot.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you first. I'm going to ask everyone to keep their masks on, please, in the audience.
My name is Carol Conrad, and I'm the president of the Bel Air Sands Condo Association at 3210 Buffalo Road. I'm here speaking on behalf of 24 condo property owners of my building. We as Bel Air condo property owners understand the need to address stormwater runoff and even agree that we must contribute in order to maintain the infrastructure and stormwater management system. While we intend to contribute, we do not agree that a fee of $6 per condo unit per month, totaling $144 per month, or $1,728 per year, for the 24-unit condo property is fair to the condo property owners. And this would just be one line item in our total yearly budget. How did this consultant determine the $15 single-family monthly fee and then the $6 per unit per month? Maybe there should be a separate meeting with these consultants to solely address the stormwater fee and explain it to all property owners. A single-family home property owner will pay $15 a month, which is $180 per year. If we squeeze 4 single-family homes onto our property, and I say squeeze, it would be 0 property owners, rather than the present 3-story condo building, the owners would collectively pay $60 per month and $720 a year. We do not believe that this is the equitable share of cost. $180 per year for a single-family home versus $1,728 per year for our condo building. As of June 1st, at the June 1st, 2020 council meeting, Councilman Dean opined that Bel Air Beach should have been collecting a stormwater fee for the last 50 years. Well, maybe so, but the present condo and homeowners should not have to pay catch-up for those 50 years. In 2019, our 24 condo owners collectively paid approximately $105,000 in property tax, plus another $8,600 for the Suncoast Emergency Service. While the vast majority of those taxes go to the county, the city of Bel Air Beach did receive about 9 or 10% of that revenue, which is approximately $10,500 of our payments. Pinellas County property appraiser Mike Twitty recently opined that the 2020 property values for Bel Air Beach properties have increased about 5%. That means the city of Bel Air Beach will receive additional revenue from this year's collection of property taxes. Yesterday's Tampa Bay Times on Sunday had a large article in their business section which stated that homeowners insurance is getting a whole lot more expensive.
Time limit is up, 3 minutes, if you'll just finish very quickly.
Well, I might have another 2 minutes, but I'm talking for 24 minutes. I appreciate maybe 2 more minutes.
City attorney, she's representing 24 people, there's, they can yield their time, but they're not here to yield their time, so we would ask that you yield your time. Council, I could ask for suspension of the rules, how would you like to handle it? Would you like her to finish? 2 minutes? Yes, please finish in 2 minutes, we're going to suspend the rules, okay?
Thanks very much.
Thanks.
The article goes on to say that major insurance companies are raising windstorm policies in Florida as much as 33% and dropping tens of thousands of customers. The Bel Air Sands Condo Association had a 70% increase in our wind insurance coverage from 2018 to 2019. Our association had a 13.8% increase in our flood insurance from 2019 to 2020. I surely don't pretend to know the financial status of the city, but why can't the council consider applying for a state and a federal grant for infrastructure and storm protection, or possibly a commercial loan or line of credit? Can we possibly consider floating a multi-year city bond, specifically earmarked for the stormwater issue? The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated financial situation for many. It may be very detrimental to the financial stability of a number of our property owners. While we again agree that we need to address the stormwater issue, we ask that the city council charge a fairer fee of $3 per unit per month for Bel Air Beach condo units. Additionally, I do find it disconcerting that the present proposed ordinance will allow for a majority of the city council members, which presently would be 4, to increase the stormwater fee by up to 4% per year, rather than having a public hearing. If you do not want to revisit the amounts of the fees, then I ask that you table the proposed ordinance for now, so that more property owners can be made aware of the new proposed fee. I only read the public notice in the Tampa Bay Times on June 24th, and then on June 25th, I received a postcard from the city. That's only about a week's notice, particularly since it's a major holiday in this time frame. Many property owners, both single family and condo, are out of town at this time of year.
Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chief.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Please consider lowering the $6 per month per unit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to, that you represent all your owners.
Thank you.
Mr. Shock.
Rick Shock, 115 13th Street. I just wanted to let everyone know here that the city council has taken this particular recommendation of raising this stormwater fee very seriously, so much so that about 9 months ago, this commission, or this city council, put together a committee. It was called the Residential Financial Advisory Committee. I had the honor of serving as a chairman of that committee. We met 9 times, and we are there are 6 of us on the committee. We're probably the only 6 citizens here who have looked at every bit of financial information that the city has. We had members of the council, including the mayor and the vice mayor, and most of the members sitting here. All of our meetings were open to the public, so people could come and find out what was going on financially here in the city. And I just want to let you know that this recommendation to raise the stormwater fee was one that our committee put together, a committee of citizens, having reviewed all the city's finances. We brought that together. Obviously, ours are just recommendations. We gave it to the city council. The city council accepted our report. That did not mean they accepted our recommendations. That meant that they had our recommendations and they could look at them and see if they wanted to take that out. So, as a former chairman of that committee, I want to let you know that our committee unanimously made this recommendation, and that this council is proceeding very carefully and with very good consideration to every individual person's finances. We had people from the condominiums, and we had people for the townhomes, we had people from very wealthy homes, and people who all of us live, most of us live in the middle of that. So I want to commend the city council. Thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Mr. Shock. Mr. Nancy?
John Hansick, 103 22nd Street. I was a member of that finance committee, and before anybody thinks anything otherwise, Rick and I did not collaborate about what I'm about to say. But I concur with everything that Rick said. This was something that was hatched in our committee. It makes sense. I'm for it. I came from a city I lived in for 15 years that had stormwater fee. It stayed constant the whole 15 years. And by statute, the only thing it can be used for is stormwater maintenance and upgrades. And I would wager to say that the existing system in this city does not meet today's standards for stormwater collection and runoff. Yeah, for whatever reason, past administrations didn't address it. Are we playing catch up? Yes. The majority of the flooding happens at the south end of from the causeway south? Yes. But this affects the whole city. The strategic plan has a plan where every year or so, 2 streets from the south end to the north end will be done. And then the system will be literally new. And from there, it'll be maintained accordingly. The intent is that in these discussions, in the work sessions and so forth, eventually, the money that's currently budgeted out of our property taxes will diminish as the pot for stormwater rises. Perhaps it'll go to 0, I don't know. So I'm for this, you know. Yes, I saw the public notice in the Tampa Bay Times. We were told we get postcards. I didn't get one, and the city's got my address. So I don't know where the FUBAR was and how they're coming about this. Everybody keeps saying it's a $15 fee, and you know, townhomes and condos or something else. It's all supposed to be based on the impervious property within your real estate property, if you will. So it's supposed to vary, but it's not supposed to be more than $15. But again, I'm for this, and I recommend council approve it. As far as putting it to a ballot, I worry about it having a town hall meeting in time to meet the deadline to get it on the ballot, because we're not getting any guidance about mail ballots with this election and this virus from the state. So I'm done.
Thank you. So.
I'm Captain T.J. Luger, 114 9th Street. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I do want to thank you specifically for listening to our concerns and putting the idea out there that we should put this to a vote for everybody. Now, I've lived here my entire life. I was a kid, and I would crawl through the existing storm drains to the intercoastal, all the way out to Gulf Boulevard. When they rebuilt Gulf Boulevard, they've actually raised the street just enough to where it makes the rain runoff rush a little faster down our residential streets. Not that big a deal. The problem is tide. We all know, I've lived here, like I said, 50 years. Had water in my house on the ground floor, approximately 3.5 feet above sea level, twice. Not that big a deal. That's the price we pay for living in paradise. I agree with some of the comments I've heard that this seems like a never-ending tax. It's going to go up. And I'll use, for example, the road tax on our fuel. I spend a lot of money burning the fuel in my vessels, but I'm charged as an automotive driver, which I already pay registration fees, road taxes, you name it. But I'm being charged extra money on fuel that my vessel's never tearing up the streets. It's not churning weight down the highway, but I'm still paying extra for that. With no, I don't even have the right to complain about it. I agree with you fully. This should be up to the citizens to be really made aware of it. But the bottom line is, unless you control the tides, there's nothing you can do. You can put in bigger pipes, better gutters, better grates. The water is going to be where the water is going to be when the tide is high, period. End of story. My remaining time, I'd like to pass off to my father.
Thank you very much.
Excuse me, 1 second, Mr. Luger. This is due time. He is going to pass it on. You have 3 minutes, sir.
Okay, thank you. First off, thank you, council, and Mr. Mayor, attorneys, etc. All right, I have got my hands on this rah-rah sheet provided by Stantec. And I refer to page 15 of their sheet. Somewhere from Bel Air Beach all the way to St. Pete Beach That includes Indian Rocks, Indian Shores, Reddington Shores, North Reddington Beach, Madeira, and Treasure Island. Nowhere are they listed in here. Apparently, they don't have any problems. The other thing, on page 5, I believe it is, that they indicated improvements to various and sundry streets along here. Nowhere from 9th, well, I'll have to say from 8th Street to 1st, not even mentioned. And all I've been hearing all afternoon from people is that that's where the majority of the problem is. But yet Stantec apparently didn't seem fit to include them as far as any improvements. All right, as far as the amounts, I paid $311 towards the city, to the city, in our taxes. Add another $180, that's 58% increase. Call it a fee, user fee, call it anything you want, but it's a tax. Okay. The other thing, if you'll look at your own tax bill, we pay Swift Mud. Approximately 1/4 to 1/3 of their budget is for stormwater management. I haven't heard one person mention anything about any matching funds that Swift Mud may provide. I did speak to an engineer at Swift Mud, Mr. Martin, and he indicated that there is a possibility for matching funds. Now, one of the council members indicated about a sunset provision as far as is this going to be in perpetuity. I understand. That's what I've always referred to as a sunset provision in law. All right? Now, nowhere in the way I read the ordinance or in Stantec's proposal did it mention any provision for sunsetting this.
Mr. Lugar, that was the time if you would just wrap it up very quickly.
Okay.
Hey, he can have mine. My name is Tom Brahan. I'm on 110 24th Street, or 24th Ave. He can have mine. He can keep going.
Thank you very kindly.
Folks, just one second, Mr. Lugar, I just want to have clerk reset that. Folks, if you want to give time that's perfectly allowable, just let the city clerk know that. This way we won't have to interrupt. We can add the 6 minutes right in the beginning. So,
She good? She heard me? Good?
Very good. Yes, thank you, sir. We appreciate that. Mr. Lugar, continue. I have 3 more minutes.
Okay, well, I won't need the 3 minutes, but it also, on page 5, the Stantec's proposal says for other improvements, but yet a good amount of it looks to be for curbs. Well, I don't know, I mean, what do you do? Build a bigger curb? And so the water will run faster or come up through the bay a little quicker? It just, to me, increasing the size of the outfall of the culverts makes sense. But again, there's other mechanisms other than having this utility fee, tax, call it anything you like. And the other thing that I noticed in their proposal is that no provision was made to pay for the cost of stabilizing our moon so we would not have any high tides.
Thank you, Mr. Lugar. Anyone else from the citizens listening to Tara?
I'm not speaking against the general principle of this thing, just about how the fees are allocated. In the definition
Mr. Tara, would
section,
you do me a favor, just either pull the mic closer or go get a them. Thank you.
okay, in the definition section, it talks about a condominium parcel means tax parcels developed with one or two condominium units. And a condominium unit means a condominium unit as defined by state law. And then it goes on in the stormwater fee calculations to say that the impervious surface area attributable to condominium parcels is approximately 40% of the impervious surface area association with the average single-family residential parcel. Then it says, accordingly, each condominium unit shall be assigned 0.4 ERUs. I live in a condo with 10 units, so we'd be assigned 4 ERUs. 10 times, if each unit gets 0.4, we get 4 per condo, when we're only 40% of the ERU for a single-family residence. And I know I speak for several other condo people around here who are not happy with the way that is, shall I say, divvied up, allocated. Seems to be sort of backwards. We should divide it as opposed to, well, if it gives 4%, then we'll divide it by 10, and each person in each unit would pay 0.04. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Citizens? Council, normally this is the time I would come back, but there's been a variety of questions raised. I was wondering if maybe you want to hear from the consultants at this point before we finally discuss it and then go to a vote. Is that council's pleasure?
Where you going with your comment?
Okay, I'm asking if we should hear from the consultants first. Do you want to comment before that?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, yes. Consultants, yes. Feel free to address any of the questions you heard, any of the ideas that you've heard, give any methodology, take the time that you need as people come out to hear this. So I want everyone on the council to know and the citizens that come here to know, and also preserve this for the record. So thank you. And you'll introduce yourself because we know you, but they don't. So.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mayor. I took notes during the commentary, so I will try to address as many of the points as I can. I'll also defer to my colleague, Stevens of Stantec, for some of the technical issues that were asked about. My name is Chris Rowe, and I am a lawyer with Ryan's Miller Olive. It's a law firm that specializes in helping cities and counties finance public improvement projects and figuring out how to pay for those public improvement projects. I helped to write the ordinance under consideration tonight. I also assisted the Stantec professionals as they analyzed the city characteristics which led to the fee under consideration this evening. Bear with me one moment. Treatment glasses as we get through some of the comments and answers to your questions that were presented. There were several comments regarding the condominium units and how it was that the condominium unit is assigned the amount that it was. Basically, stormwater calculation is not set by state statute. In other words, when the city gets ready to adopt a stormwater fee, it doesn't look to state statute in order to determine how the fee is going to be calculated. Instead, the city can determine on its own how best to adopt a fee calculation that works for the given community. The industry standard for stormwater fee calculation, by that I mean the vast majority of cities that have this type of charge, calculate their fee exactly this way, that is on the basis of impervious area. Impervious area is basically the amount of developed property that contributes to stormwater runoff in a rainfall event. The more impervious area you have on your property, generally the more runoff your property will create, the more burden on the city's facilities that have to be addressed. So the way that most cities go about allocating these charges by recognizing that properties with lesser or more impervious area will pay lesser or more depending on the exact amount present. Stantec undertook an analysis and determined in reference to the property appraiser records which report the square footage of impervious area for all parcels in the city. At 4,188 was the average amount of square footage of impervious area on single-family residential properties. Now, the city could have gone about measuring the exact square footage for each and every parcel that's single family and charged each of those exactly for their individual square footage. However, the more common approach throughout Florida is to identify an equivalency movement, basically an ERU or an ERC, which is what this ordinance suggests, whereby all single-family residential properties pay basically that same rate. That especially holds true in a community like yours, where, as was mentioned earlier, the parcel configuration is very, very similar. The lot sizes are similar, the amount of development range is similar. it makes sense to go ahead and have a common charge for all residential property. Otherwise, you would expend an exorbitant amount of money trying to calculate with exactitude the stormwater fee for each property, and that additional money and expense would invariably be passed on to ratepayers. So it's common around the state, we've suggested a method by which all single-family properties pay the same charge. It's at $15 a month per ERU. We next looked at condominium units. Basically compared condominium parcels, that is a parcel of land that contains more than one condominium unit, and compared it to that 4,180 square foot equivalency unit assigned single-family properties. We determined Stentex analysis, which included, by the way, more than just referring to the property appraisers records, they actually did a GIS study to determine how much impervious area was present for the condominium parcels. Determined that it was about 40% of what the single-family residential impervious area count was. So they will in turn pay 40% or 0.4 ERU per month for their charge. That's how we determined it. It was basically by looking and comparing the two square footages for impervious area. It's a common approach. It's used widely throughout the state. There's really nothing that's out of the ordinary with the method that we're suggesting. Some communities adopt additional considerations, bells and whistles, which are not present here, but those communities tend to be much larger. Oftentimes they have a substantial stormwater issue that has to be addressed. And remember, the more complicated you make a particular system, the more you're going to have to charge in order to administer it over time. Our thought was because the community was just starting with a stormwater fee, adopt something that's relatively straightforward, relatively easy to not only implement in the first instance, but to administer over time. That's what we have for you this evening. There was a question about, if I understood the question correctly, that of the survey taken by Stantec of other communities that have stormwater fees, the survey did not include similar coastal communities in the vicinity. That was for a couple of reasons, I'll try to speak to it. But I would note that there's no prohibition in the law for the city adopting a stormwater fee to address stormwater expense. It's merely by virtue of being a coastal community. In fact, the Florida Stormwater Association promulgates a model stormwater fee ordinance for coastal communities, a number of which have taken advantage of, and which I built several of those provisions into the ordinance you're considering this evening. Just because the community is coastal doesn't mean you can't have a stormwater fee, or they're not stormwater needs and burdens that we can address.
The only other point I'd add to that, Chris, is with regards to that fee comparison as well, one thing I'd always like to know when we put those up, you've got to put those comparisons in there, but no detailed research has been done to what these other communities are providing with regards to the level of service in their community. Your community, being a coastal community, and my work, I typically find those fees are higher. You've got different types of needs than an inland community, as well as other funding sources they may pay. So you may see a fee there. They may be also paying with other sources like the general fund and subsidizing their fee as well. So I just want to put those 2 points on.
There was a question about the individual stormwater projects that are referenced in the stormwater presentation that Stantec made last time. The stormwater projects were made available to us both in the stormwater master plan that the city has previously commissioned, but also our discussions with city staff as to what it expected in the way of projects going forward. The list that's included in the presentation is not exclusive, nor is it binding. The city can use these funds for any stormwater related purpose, including those that were set out in the stormwater presentation we made last week. The money that is generated by this fee is, in fact, as one commenter pointed out, dedicated. By that I mean it is set up as an enterprise fund. What that means within the law is the money generated by the stormwater fee must be used for stormwater purposes. The city can't take that money and use it for anything other than addressing stormwater management within city limits. Now, to the extent that the city has historically paid for that stormwater management exclusively through its ad valorem taxes, to the extent you add a new revenue source to offset some of the amount that's otherwise borne by the ad valorem tax base, then you could, in time, adjust your ad valorem taxes downward to reflect this new revenue source. You're not required to do that, but it is one appealing advantage of adopting a fee like this. Some communities will consider when they're about to impose the charge. That is, ad valorem taxes are the primary source of income for each city throughout the state, with rare exception. ad valorem taxes are a very powerful source of revenue, but they're also subject to fluctuation over time. There may be events that happen outside of the city's control, such as a downturn in the economy or drops in real estate property values that could impact the city's ad valorem tax revenues. When a city diversifies and funds a given service like stormwater through multiple funding sources, including a fee, the city becomes less subject to valuation dips and rises and diminished revenues that follow in ad valorem taxes when property values increase. It makes good planning sense from the sustainability viewpoint to adopt a range of fees that can be used for this type of ad valorem and stormwater to be under consideration tonight. Tonight we want to establish that sustainability. The fee does not sunset. The fee has been set up so that it continues over time. The ordinance points out that the city council will intend to consider the stormwater fee each year during its budget adoption process. The city council is at liberty at any time to discontinue the fee. However, it's not set up to automatically end after 1 year. It's set up so it will continue from year to year. If the city goes above a certain amount as prescribed in the ordinance because it determines it needs more money to run a stormwater program, then it may be responsible for providing notice and conducting other public hearings, such as what's happening today before it adopts a fee increase. That's not automatically set up. There was a question about the bond validation. So what the city will do if it imposes this fee and adopts this ordinance is it will set about borrowing a small amount of money with which to finance the purchase of stormwater-related facilities. When the city borrows money in the form of a bond issue or a bank loan, the city can ask the circuit court to review the financing and the underlying charge which is used to repay the financing, and ask the circuit court to approve, basically validate it beforehand. That's very, very helpful to the city because it gives the city the peace of mind knowing that the fee is lawful and legal and won't be challenged in the future. Oftentimes a controversial measure, or maybe not a controversial, any measure, is subject to ongoing criticism and attack by property owners who, for whatever reason, don't like given undertaking. I'm going to sue to have this overturned. You're going to be on the hook for lawyers' fees, etc. If the city validates its stormwater fee, its ability to borrow only based on the stormwater fee at the outset, as you suggested, then those sorts of legal challenges will be cut off. The city will be on good legal footing, and it will know with certainty that it has the legal authority to impose the fee, calculated just as been outlined in this ordinance, and move forward with peace of mind, knowing they will be subject to suit in the future because all legal matters in this are resolved. If the ordinance is adopted, the city council will consider a resolution at the next item on the agenda that will authorize the small loan I referenced. That small loan and that resolution will serve as basically the premise for the validation, which will take place in the very near future. It's an expedited proceeding we intend to resolve in 2 months after which collection. I think that was the majority of comments and questions that I noted. Is there anything else about this?
Council, is there any questions from the consultants? Council, will open up for final comments.
I would like to go ahead and make a comment. Actually, Mr. Lugar, you had mentioned that this starts on like 9th and 12th, the stormwater expenditure sheet. That's because that's planned for year 2021. Lynn has already set in the budget and it is scheduled for, 7th and 8th plan for this year, and we've already done other streets on the south side this year. So this plan starts at 2021 and then gives you the next 5 years, which streets are in the process of being worked on. So I just wanted to clear that up for you.
Other comments?
I think to add on to what Ms. Stork said is that the 2021 budget for stormwater is $613,000. We're only proposing collecting in this fee $176,000. There's still $435,000 that has to come out of the general budget. So just kind of put in perspective what we're talking about, an annual fee, which is why we had our finance advisory committee take a look at this to see how can we balance this. We are by no means balancing the budget of these improvements through this fee. It's just it's helping offset some of the cost. Oh, one other thing was there was a question about grants, Swift Mud, matching funds. Lynn can speak to this more, but we've exhausted all those options. And then selling municipal bonds, we still have to raise money to pay them back. If we borrow money by selling bonds, we still have to pay that money back. It's not free money. So that's something to really think about. Those funds would still be owed, and then we'd be paying interest on it like we have on a lot of the other improvements that we've done. We borrowed money and we have big, debt interest payments. For instance, this building, we're trying to avoid taking on debt. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, I had given a suggestion to the council about running this to a referendum, and I'm going to state on the record that I am totally for the whole concept of what we've done with the stormwater. I like it. If it comes to a referendum, I'll personally vote for it. I think I want it to come to a referendum, so I'm not going to support this tonight. I think this needs to go to the voters. I've heard from the citizens. You've changed my opinion on this. I know there's merit to this, but I just want everybody to understand it fully. It's a complicated concept, so that's where I personally stand on this. Council, if there's any other comments, Jody Shirley moved this so she has the last word. She just had a summary, but she may have something else to add, so I certainly want to give her that opportunity, and then we can take this to a vote.
I believe Mr. Gunn had something.
Vice Mayor?
You with us, Glenn?
I'm with you, I'm ready to call the question.
Okay, no need for it. I mean, if you want to, I just asked for final comments. I'm moving to you and then to Jody Shirley. Councilman Shirley, we have last word.
No, that's it.
Okay, then we're going to move this. So let me bring the question to the council. This is a consideration of ordinance 2003, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, an ordinance of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida relating to stormwater management, establishing a stormwater utility pursuant to Chapter 166 Florida Statutes, Section 4.03089.3 Florida Statutes, providing for a stormwater fee, specifying the methods of calculating, billing, and collecting the fee, establishing a rate schedule for the stormwater fee for fiscal year 2020 through 2021, providing that the rate schedule for fiscal years thereafter may be established by resolution of the City Council adopted during the city's annual budget process, directing codification of this ordinance, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date. That is the second and final reading. A vote for this passes it, a vote against it rejects it. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bean,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manto.
Nay. So it passes 6-1. This is now going to be implemented. We're going to move on to item 6. Item 6 is what the council said. The counselor here, who is our consultant. This is a consideration of Resolution 2020-09. It's a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida. Resolution of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, authorizing the issuance of stormwater utility system revenue note series 2020 in the principal amount not to exceed $45,000 to fund the acquisition and installation of capital improvements necessary for the provision of stormwater management services in the city, providing that the Series 2020 note shall be for a limited obligation of the city, payable from certain stormwater fees as provided herein, providing for the rights and remedies of the owner of the Series 2020 note, making certain covenants and agreements in connection therewith, and providing for an effective date. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
The Gaddis motions and Mark being seconds. It's open for discussion, council. Any discussion? Open it up to the city. Residents, this is on that note, as described. There was no comment from the city. Back to council for final comments. Dave Gaddis, you get the final word, so we'll go through everyone else first.
I have no comment.
You have no comment. Want to take it to the question? Glenn, did you hear everything?
I'm on board, this is just a follow-on to the ordinance we just voted, and it's just part of the process. So it's basically,
Okay.
I'm ready.
So bear with me, I'm going to read it again, I'm going to call this question. It's consideration of Resolution 2020-09, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida. A resolution of the City of Bel Air Beach, Florida, authorizing the issuance of stormwater utility revenue note Series 2020 in the principal amount not to exceed $45,000 to fund the acquisition and installation of capital improvements necessary for the provision of stormwater management services in the city, providing that the Series 2020 note shall be a limited obligation to the city, payable from certain stormwater fees as provided here, and providing for the rights and remedies of the owner of the Series 2020 note, making certain covenants and agreements in connection therewith, and providing for an effective date. An affirmative vote will pass the ordinance. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Reed,
Aye.
Councilmember Gaddis,
Aye.
Councilmember Shirley,
Aye.
Councilmember Swope,
Aye.
Councilmember Aki,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Gunn,
Aye.
Mayor Manzo.
Aye. It passes 7-0. We're going to authorize the city manager to work with consultants then to move forward, and then there's now a yes, so we'll move forward on that and get this out. I just have one question, council. I know that the courts are right now, I don't know, most of them are open. I know I can't get into most of them. How are they doing with this kind of thing? Is it going to turn around pretty quickly?
It varies by jurisdiction. I have one on Thursday that requires in-person attendance in some of them. We're going in Sarasota County next month that is by Zoom only, virtual. So it varies. I'll determine that in short order and I'll share that information.
And you'll keep us up to date.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your work. Thanks. Okay, we're now going to move into the consent agenda. There's no discussion on this for the audience, just so you know. We just passed these in mass, and I did split 3 items out, numbers 9, 11, and 13. I do, for the record, have to read each one of them. I'm going to read it once with the okay of council. We're going to pass it all at once. There'll be no discussion on it. And I will discuss number 9, 11, and 13. I have very brief comments or questions on that. So, item number 7 is the approval of the May 18, 2020 City Council work session meetings. Minute. Start that again. Pass approval of May 18, 2020 City Council work session minutes. Item 8, approval of May 20, 2020 City Council work session minutes. Item 10, approval of the June 15, 2020 City Council work session minutes. Item 12, authorize the city manager to advertise for 7th and 8th Street drainage modification project. The description on that being the project includes the outfall, check valves, piping, stormwater inlets, and paving and curb work. And finally, item number 14, consideration of acceptance of the Planning and Zoning Board final report to the City Council. That is to accept the City Board's research for alternative uses of the city properties as requested by the City Council. And that is only accepting the report. It is not implementing that report, just as a piece of information. So do I have a motion to pass items 7, 8, 10, 12, and 14 of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second. I'll take a voice vote. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? So it passes unanimously. Items 7, 8, 10, 12, and 14. Now I asked to split out item 9, 11, and 13, and we'll take them one at a time because we have to keep them separate. So I can't make a motion, so somebody's going to have to make the motion to approve this. So item 9 is approval of the June 1st City Council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We have a second. We have discussion. Want to yield to me?
Yes.
Thank you. On June 1st, this is really for the city clerk. The reason why I split this out, I had to recuse myself from voting on an item that would have inured to my benefit. Under Florida law, I presented you with a Form 8B. And under Florida law, that is supposed to be in this packet, and it is not. So we would need to supplement this with my Form 8B that I filed with. I know you received it because you acknowledged that. So, but it was not published. Okay. I'm going to ask that if anyone wishes to see this, okay, this is just I had to step aside on voting. You're not normally able to do this under Florida law. I had to, it was required. I have to file a form with the city. I filed that form, and it's now going to be included. If anyone would like to see it, I'll make that available before this vote. If not, we're going to pass this. Would anyone like to see this? Okay, then this is for the approval of the June 1st, 2020 City Council minutes. All in favor? Oh.
It's legal work session. That was a regular session. The very first thing.
Yeah, in your packet, in your packet to be signed, it is corrected, but you're right, in the packet, it was sent out, that was sorry.
Councilmember Gaddis, what we're voting on though is for the approval of the works, the regular session, but your correction has been made in the packet that we're going to sign. So same issue, but it is a correction to the proper minutes, and that's appropriate. Thank you. Good catch. Okay, any other corrections on these minutes before we finalize them? So then we have a motion to approve the June 1st, 2020 City Council meeting minutes. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? And those minutes are passed. Next one that I asked to break out was the item number 11, and it's to approval to change QuickBooks Master Administration, name city manager as master administrator. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Defer to me for my question?
Yes, please.
Thank you. My only question, I did not understand this. It seems like it's just something we have to do, Mr. Reeves, but I didn't understand what we were doing here, so if you would just explain this.
Well, when we initially bought QuickBooks, how many ever years ago, there was an administrator assigned to it. I've been trying to get it changed for almost 12 months now. And every time I send something in that they request, they send something back. And this is the latest request that they wanted minutes that said, I sent in that I was appointed the city manager. We sent in our charter. We sent in, actually last week we sent in that Patty was assigned as the city clerk. So this is a process that they take to move it from our previous, so it's just something that is a process.
Can I clear this up a little bit? A lot of software is multiple users. It's like this where it's possible to have multiple administrators. However, whenever you're dealing with cloud-based services or where you license through the cloud, things like that, only one person is actually authorized to add in with the administrators. And I believe that's the authority he's asking for.
I think I understand it. Does anyone else on council have any questions or issues on that?
I tell you, it's been a nightmare.
It sounds like it's an ordeal. I hope this works for you. Okay, so we have a motion and we'll be now calling the question to approve to change the QuickBooks Master Administration and name the city manager as the Master Administrator. I'm just going to call it voice-wise. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Go with our luck and best wishes. I hope that one works for you. Okay, item 13 is acceptance of the final advisory committee final report to the city council. This is to accept the committee findings and recommendations from research requested by the city council. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Defer to me for my issue?
Please.
Thank you. I think it's just an issue in wording. It says accept committee findings and recommendations. It should say research. We're not necessarily accepting all their recommendations. That is an individual thing that we will decide on. Any council member can move that. But right now, we're just accepting their research. I believe that's exactly what we said in the previous thing when we accepted the plan for it. So that was my only suggested change. I would need an amendment if somebody wants to go with that. If not, we'll leave it like it is and vote on it. Anybody want an amendment? If we do the recommendations, then we're accepting their recommendations, which means this will leave a question for implementation.
I don't believe it says that we have to act on their
accepting them. I know that caused some confusion, I saw it on social media.
Mayor, the main reason this was put on there is because the council accepted it as a work session. So you needed, and we did it for the planning. We put both of them on here as a consent item because all we're asking you to do is accept what you unofficially accepted in a work session. That's all.
So everyone knows, we can't actually vote that work session, so we'll take a consensus vote just to see if we're all on the same page. This is formalizing that.
Right.
I'm going to withdraw my issue if no one else considers it an issue, but I know that came up, so then let's just leave it as it is, and no one's going to amend, so then we have consideration of acceptance of the Finance Advisory Committee final report to the City Council. We will accept the committee findings and recommendations from research requested by the City Council. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Will pass unanimously. Okay. That clears the consent agenda, the items removed from that. Now, the next item is a big one, that's item 30B, which is the whole issue of the beaches, and we've been going for an hour and 46 minutes. I have no reason personally to take a break, but I want to make that option open before we get into this discussion, and then we'll take a break after that. We'll say, does anyone need a break now?
I would like to go ahead and have one.
One break? All right, so I'm going to say 10 minutes sufficient? 7:46, 7:50, 7:55, 9 minutes. Okay, we'll be back.
I'm glad they passed this.